Time for some predictions for Alabama, Ole Miss, Auburn, Texas A&M, and the rest of the SEC and whatever other big games there are this weekend. I'm not sure yet. We'll get to them, though, right here on Locked On Bama.
Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama. Luke Robinson, that's me. Jimmy Stein, that's him. Jimmy, how are you today?
Good. We're recording this late Thursday, and even this late in the season, I get excited when Thursday's here. To me, Thursday is the start of the new football weekend. There's NFL games, there's college games, high school playoffs tomorrow, more college football tomorrow, and of course the big day on Saturday. So I'm still fired up. There's really only 3 of these left before championship weekend.
This episode is brought to you by Underdog, and I'm going to tell you about Underdog in just a little bit. Underdog Fantasy, awesome. Also, speaking of dogs, how about this dog? I got my little monkey poo right next to me. That's what I was petting out of people, and I was saying stop it because she was asking me to pet her. Anywho, Jimmy, this is the predictions episode, but before
I knew it wasn't Krista. She doesn't even like the podcast.
That's true. She wouldn't be listening, watching, wanting me to pet her, nothing.
Okay. She clears out when it's time for me to talk ball.
Okay, a couple of things here. First of all, tomorrow night, Alabama's got a big game. Basketball, Alabama versus Liberty. Liberty's got this 5'9" dude who's a really good scorer. I mean, he looks like a perfect candidate for the transfer portal. Why he's still at Liberty, I don't know. Also, Liberty and Alabama have a little bit of a tie-in. Jeremy Monso, if you remember from a gazillion years ago, I think it was a Parkway Christian, I think it was, that he just lit up everybody all the time. He averaged like 100 points a game, was a star since he was an 8th grader. He ended up going to Liberty. But he was a big Alabama fan, if I remember right. Then, of course, that's a fun game. I'm going to go. If you see me there, if you're there, feel free to say something to me. I'll have 3 of my 17 children with me. And let's see. Also tomorrow, #1 Alabama women's soccer. I'm going to try and make it to that too. Not for the whole time because it's going to cut into basketball time, but #1 Bama women's soccer, #1 seed in the NCAA tournament. They will be playing tomorrow. If you're so inclined and you dig soccer, go check it out. I've got a daughter that'll be with me. Both my daughters, big soccer fans. And so I'm looking forward to going to that. Just want to throw that out there. Jimmy, we're definitely going to spend most of the time talking about Alabama, Ole Miss, and giving predictions. I talked to did a Locked On Ole Miss crossover on our last podcast, and he had some interesting things to say. We'll get to all that, but for now, I want to start talking about some of the other games in the SEC. And I think where we start is Auburn, Ole Miss, which is maybe the most intriguing matchup of 2, 3, and 6 teams in the history of college football. Auburn should have a bunch of people there because, they're going to go support their own Cadillac Williams. That's kind of what Colts do. Just teasing Auburn fans listening. It's actually kind of cool that you have a big turnout for that. They've got a big recruiting weekend. Quay Russaw and James Smith should be there, but I'm going to throw this caveat in there after today, having spoken to somebody that is very close to things. I feel a lot better about both James Smith and Quay Russaw. I feel a lot better about it. Not that I felt bad, but I feel better than I even did before. That they will end up at Alabama. I'm just throwing that little nugget in there with no background. You're just going to have to trust me. And so Auburn, Texas A&M, interesting game. Auburn's only a 1.5 point favorite, which I find odd. Texas A&M coming into this with probably more talent, but their energy level has got to be at Joe Biden debating Donald Trump a few years ago levels. If you remember the sleepy Joe Biden moments, that's the kind of energy, or was it low energy Jeb Bush? Maybe that's what it was. Jeb Bush, low energy Jeb, I think is what it was. That's kind of the way Texas A&M feels right now. So I think Auburn could win this game in blowout fashion.
They really could. I mean, it's a great point you make about the energy and who's excited to be there. you got to feel like, I mean, Auburn, I've heard the game sold out. I think Auburn fans were excited about Carnell. Not like that there's a lot of support for him to be the head coach going forward. But what I mean is, I think all Auburn fans, I mean, Carnell's easy to root for. And I think the Auburn fans are really rooting for Carnell. And it feels like last week's loss, still a loss to Mississippi State, sort of energized Auburn for the first time in a few weeks. They've lost 5 games in a row. So I do think this is an energized Auburn. Texas A&M, on the other hand, they're the ones really sleepwalking into this thing, coming off the flu game where there's a lot of A&M guys that were sick. They still didn't get murdered. I sort of like A&M here, honestly. I'm going to pick A&M to win this game. I think I refuse to believe, Luke, that A&M could lose 8 games or 7 games or however many it's going to be. I mean, I refuse to believe that with that team they would lose this many games. Auburn is not good. A&M's got more good players. I think the freshman Connor Wigman, I'm sort of predicting, Luke, that Wigman sort of catches fire. My thing is, I think Wigman leads A&M to a nice finish, because here's another thing you can set your watch to, Luke, and that's A&M being excited about next season. Something's going to have to happen down the stretch here to get A&M fans on board for next season, because that's such an A&M thing to do, right? I mean, how can they be fired up about next season if they literally finish 4-8?
No, that's so true. I do think it's funny, though. Your comment on you have a hard time believing A&M could lose 8 games. I think that's fair if you say that at the beginning of the season. The problem with your saying that is they've already lost 6. That you are the guy who's at the roulette table saying it can't be read 6 times in a row. And yes, it can, because it's already been read 5 times in a row. So
they've played like an 8, and they've played like an 8-loss team in this league. Yeah. They have. But come on, I mean, there is no way Auburn has as many good players as A&M. And how about this? Connor Wigman is a freshman, and straight up, put it this way, Ashford started a bunch of games now. He's not a freshman. He's been around. I mean, he's sort of a veteran in the sense that he's been in college football for 3 years, and Wigman's a true freshman. If something happened to Bryce Young and it was said in Indianapolis that Alabama, you must play against Ole Miss Saturday with one of 2 quarterbacks. You can have Wigman from A&M, or you can have Robbie Ashford from Auburn. I'm taking Wigman.
Okay, I agree with you there. I have no problem saying that. I don't think there's any doubt about it. Okay, the thing that I believe in is that there is an Auburn voodoo, and Auburn's just going to swag surf their way to blowing out Texas A&M. Texas A&M, even if they only lose 7 games, let's assume, even if they only lose 6 games, let's say they win out. They have been the most disappointing team of the year. I mean, I guess if they win out, they'll be neck and neck with Oklahoma.
First team since 2010 to start in the top 6 and not make a bowl if they lose one more game. That's first team. That's historic. If you go 12 or 13 years and it just doesn't happen in college football, and then it happens, that's historical.
But see, and the other thing Auburn has going for them that Texas A&M doesn't. Texas A&M, there's no doubt in a coaching matchup, this is no contest. This is like no mas. In this particular game, in this moment where Carnell Williams knows just about beyond the shadow of a doubt he's not going to get this job. But I think the Auburn fan base is like, Carnell, we want you to have this. This is our gift to you, that we're going to show up and we're going to go bananas so that you can help you win this game. And this is going to be 60 minutes of pure energy. Forget the fact that A&M's more talented. Forget the fact that A&M's got more people that'll be drafted. Forget the fact that A&M's got a coach that has won a national championship. Because I feel like Jimbo is the kind of guy that is also, boy, I can't imagine like he's really into this ball game either, because he's walking into a hornet's nest, and I feel like this is going to get out of control.
What a low for Jimbo Fisher if he takes a better team than Auburn's got and loses to Carnell Williams. They're paying Jimbo Fisher Elon Musk money, and he could lose to Carnell Williams, and Jimbo's got more good players and the better quarterback.
It's crazy.
Mm.
It's crazy. All right, Jimmy, I need to tell everybody about Underdog. This episode is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy, the easiest pace to spice up your college football season. It is so easy, folks. I'm telling you, you're going to love it. I'm going with like the Duke quarterback Riley Leonard to get higher than 50.5 rushing yards against Boston College. Something like that. That's what you can take here. It's like that kind of fantasy. It's just over under on particular yardage or number of touchdowns or whatever. Go to Underdog Fantasy. You can go check out their easy app, or you can go online and check them out, whatever you want. You can also do something like Drake May at North Carolina. Hope is in the transfer portal. May be lower than 302 passing yards against whoever North Carolina's playing this weekend. Something like that. You can do Bryce Young over, I don't know what it'll be, 275 passing yards. I'm just throwing a number out there. It could be more than that, could be less than that, but you can take the over-under. It's easy to play and available in over 30 states, Alabama being one of them. Just pick between 2 and 5 players. So if you want to do like an over-under on 2 players, that's fine, but you can do it to 5 and you get a lot more odds that would help out if you hit them all. It's not just your team. You can do it on any you want to do. So this is one of the easiest fantasy games to play out there, and you can win cold, hard cash. Sign up with the promo code Locked On. That's one word, Locked On, and Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. Deposit $100, you get $100 free. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com or find the Underdog Fantasy app in the App Store or Google Play Store. Look, that's Underdog Fantasy, promo code Locked On, one word. Get in on the college football pick'em action today. And I ain't playing. Okay.
Hey, one question for you. Hey, one quick question as an aside. I'm going off script here. In the Underdog library. Exactly. That's the first thing I said to surprise you. You haven't seen the script? No, you mentioned Drake May and transfer portal in Alabama. I get this a lot on my message board. Well, I'm there. That's where I work. I work on the Bama Insider message board. That's where I'm at, the Talking Champions. Most of the day and evening is that's my work office, the message board. I get a lot of, boy, Alabama's going to sign a quarterback out of the portal, probably Drake May. And I shoot this down often as I can because it's not shooting it down like I would know. I don't talk to Drake May. He's a QB country guy, but I don't talk to Drake May. Where, Luke, does this come from that Drake May is going in? Why would Drake May go in the portal? Why he might be the number 1 pick next year, exactly where he's at. I mean, where does that come from? And then secondly, why would he pick Alabama? He's already said no to Alabama. He was committed and then decommitted. And I just, where does this come from? Because it's a consistent thing. And I figure it's coming from somewhere. And I've yet, my crack staff has yet to determine where this rumor comes from. Where do you think it comes from?
Message boards. But
I guess so.
I mean, it really, the way this probably went down, and again, I'm just throwing it out there, and I was kind of half-heartedly kidding. Although, if Drake May does go in the transfer portal, yes, I want to contact him.
He's a great player.
Awesome. I think he might look after Bryce. He might be the best quarterback in the country. Bryce is the best quarterback in the country. Drake May be second. But now, and you say, why would he come to Alabama? He's already said no to Alabama. I mean, my take on that would be, well, you do have to think first of all, he want to have Josh Downs in North Carolina next year. I don't know how much of a connection they had this year anyway. And secondly, look, North Carolina, whatever they are in the college football playoff rankings, is still in the teens, I think. And they've only have 1 loss. They're not going to make the college football playoff. It's going to be really difficult. And they're just not going to make it. He has a chance to do that at Alabama. He has a chance to play on the biggest stage. He'll have a chance to have better weapons. He'll have a chance to have a better offensive line and a defense that will also bail him out. So I mean, I think there's some positives to come into Alabama, but again, we are feeding a rumor that isn't so much as even a rumor yet.
That's
Really,
right. So where does it come from? I mean, I guess it's wishful. And I've said as a joke, I'm like, if this is just wishful thinking Drake made to Alabama, why are we stopping? Why not Caleb Williams to Alabama? Let's go for it.
why not? Why not Bryce Young come back?
Yes, I mean that would be just as baseless. Now, one thing about Bryce coming back, hey, we never said, Nick has, boy, did we get off the script today. Nick has never, he sits down with all the juniors that are coming out. He sits down with all of them to discuss whether they should come out or stay. And in all of those conversations, this is the first time he will say this in all seriousness to a kid deciding to leave or come back. And he's going to say to Bryce, well, you're making millions of dollars here. That's never been said.
I know.
To any, and I'm not trying to be, our kids didn't make money even before. I mean, who knows what was going on at the table, but I know this, it wasn't millions of dollars to anybody, So I'm just saying that's an interesting thing about Bryce is it's not like he's not making literally multiple millions of dollars exactly where he's at. Now, if you're the number one pick, if you're a top 10 pick, if you're a round pick, you're going to make more money from your NFL team than you are in NIL deals at Alabama. So that's why Bryce is going to leave and go to the NFL in all seriousness. But it is interesting that in that exit interview, if that's what you want to call it, Nick is going to begin it with, before I make my pitch, Bryce, realize you are making millions right here. So, don't tell me that, the family back home can't pay the light bill.
I will also say this, like in our comments, occasionally when we talk about Bryce Young, there have been those that have said, I think Bryce needs another year. I'm like, no, in fact, Bryce could have left this year and made a boatload of money. I mean,
had someone on my board today say that Will Anderson is playing himself out of the top of the draft. And I'm like, whoa, time out, pal.
He physically can't do that.
I need a gong while I moderate the board. Like that post is gonged. Everybody's too young to know what the gong show was. But I'm just saying that, no, Will Anderson will be the first player taken in this draft that's not a quarterback. I said it this summer. I said it this fall. I'm saying it right now.
And it wouldn't matter if Will Anderson tomorrow, if he came or Saturday, if he dressed out in Oxford, Mississippi, and his gut fell over his codpiece, jockstrap, whatever, where and he was like, I've just put on a lot of weight since Wednesday. The NFL would still say, you know what?
We can get that weight off him.
We can get it off of him. Just ain't nothing a little MetaFast can't handle or Fibercon. So, look, there is nothing Will Anderson can physically do short of a horrible electric chainsaw accident on his foot that will leave him out of the first round.
Both of these things can be true, people. Both can be true. Number one, we talked in the preseason about how Will could become the first defensive player to win a Heisman Trophy, a real defensive player to win a Heisman Trophy, that he got ripped for not being in New York City last year, that he could win the Heisman this year. He's that good. He's a threat to Bryce winning the Heisman. Is Will winning the Heisman? Has Will Anderson had a Heisman Trophy season? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. He doesn't. No one needs to vote Will third on their ballot. This is not a Heisman Trophy winning season for a pass rusher. Now, is Will still perhaps the best defensive football player in this conference? Maybe, probably, probably might be the best. I mean, I'm not trading him for anybody else. I know it hasn't been as dominant as last season numbers wise, but I'm not sure I can name the defensive player in the SEC that I'm like, he's better than Will Anderson.
All right. We're going to have to take a break and talk about SimpliSafe. And it's a good thing we don't keep up with our records on these predictions because we just missed every other prediction. So Don't give me any explanation. I just want to know who wins, Arkansas or LSU.
Arkansas.
I'm going to go Arkansas too, just out of wishful thinking. Okay. There's no analysis whatsoever. But SimpliSafe, I need to tell you about that. Did you know that over the holidays, property crimes like burglaries and package thefts spiked nationally? That's why our friends at SimpliSafe Home Security are offering 50% off their award-winning security system. That way, more families can feel safe and secure this holiday season. Order your SimpliSafe system for half off. That's half off today, and enjoy the advanced security and greater peace of mind this holiday season. Look, this thing is so great. SimpliSafe, we use it at our house. Love it. Makes my wife feel safe. Makes my daughter feel safe. When my other kids come in town, they feel safe. All 17 of them, they feel safe. Share. I'm just telling you. Yeah, I can share anytime that I've left and I've gone out of town and the wife's all. I'm like, is everything cool? She's like, yeah, I'm cool. I've got SimpliSafe. She did literally say that one time. And I mean, I think it was sort of, she knew that I was doing this live read later, but it still counts. So I can honestly say it.
Hey, and you left out the part where she's got all 17 kids there, and it's going to take a team. It's going to take 10 Joe Pesci's and Daniel Stearns to break into that place.
I'm very impressed you knew Daniel Stern. SimpliSafe was named the best home security system of 2022 by U.S. News and World Report. That's a third year in a row, people. In an emergency, 24/7 professional monitoring agents use Fast Protect technology exclusive to SimpliSafe to capture critical evidence and verify the threat is real so you can get priority police response. Don't miss your chance to save big on the only security system I recommend right here on Locked On Bama. Get 50% off new SimpliSafe system at SimpliSafe.com/URL today. This is their biggest discount of the year, so don't wait. That's SimpliSafe. I said URL. That's SimpliSafe.com/LockedOnCollege. It has URL in the live read, y'all, and I'm not a tech savvy guy, but it's SimpliSafe.com/LockedOnCollege. There's no safe like SimpliSafe. There are going to be some people that go to SimpliSafe.com/URL and be like, that Luke, such a liar. All right, Bama, Ole Miss. Jimmy, I'm going to go ahead and give everybody the bad news or good news. I mean, if you don't think I know what I'm talking about. Ole Miss is winning this ball game, and I think Ole Miss wins at 34-28. I'm scared to death of how this particular Alabama team reacts to essentially having all their goals shot down. I mean, yes, if Arkansas wins like we predicted, then Alabama will feel a little better about potentially being able to make the SEC championship, but you can't feel great about it because they still have to lose to Texas A&M then, and I don't know if that's happening. So, Jimmy, I just feel like this team is – look, it goes one of two ways in a situation like this. Are they going to go Alabama versus Michigan State 2010? I don't think so. I think they're going to go more Alabama versus Oklahoma 2013, where they look pretty good for a while, but then they end up getting down a little bit, and they can never catch up because Ole Miss is going to be fired up as well. The Grove is going to be rocking. I suspect Ole Miss wins this game 34-28.
Well, if Ole Miss wins, I will not be surprised. I won't be like, holy moly, how in the world did that happen? Ole Miss is a pretty good football team. They're ranked 11th in the CFP rankings. It's on the road. It's hard to beat the 11th ranked team on the road, no matter who they are. Now throw in that Lane Kiffin's dying duck fit death wish is to beat Nick Saban in Alabama. And Lane, who frankly is an offensive genius, Lane's going to come up with a plan for our defense that's going to be diabolical, and it's likely to work to an extent. I'm not going to be surprised at all if Ole Miss wins the game, but I'm not picking Ole Miss to win the game. I think Alabama's going to win because Alabama's got more good players than Ole Miss. Alabama's got Bryce. Alabama's got Will Anderson. And this is the thing. I heard a pundit, I'm going to call him a pundit, on the radio this afternoon, actually, local radio, say Alabama's got nothing to play for, and therefore there's not going to be an Alabama team giving a lot of effort because they have nothing to play for. I hope our team is listening. I hope they are. I do know we get some listens from players' families. I hope the players are listening. Like when Nick, look, you all want to play in the NFL. What do you think an NFL scout is going to see on tape from your Ole Miss game? And by the way, they're going to watch it. They watch every play from every game. Every NFL scout that's scouting Will, Bryce, All 22 of our starters, Brian Branch, J.C. Latham for next year, they're looking at all of it. Do you think scouts go, not going to watch that Ole Miss tape? Alabama didn't really care. Oh, look at him loafing through this game. It didn't really matter. Alabama was only going to go to the Sugar Bowl and not the playoffs. So I don't care that he loafed and didn't give effort for 60. No, the tape is your resume. The tape is your job interview. Any Alabama player that gives zero effort, loafs, and gets beat on Saturday has cost themselves a lot of money in the draft. I refuse to believe that our players only, hey, I'm appealing to their selfishness. It's fine that the team goals are gone, but I'm sure you want to get drafted. I'm sure you would like to go as high as possible in the draft. I'm sure you don't want an NFL scout to watch the game Saturday and write in his notes, he's dogging it. He doesn't care. If that is in your scouting report, you just cost yourself thousands and thousands of dollars. So I don't buy that Alabama's got nothing to play for. I think 22 individuals have a lot to play for. And I also think they're competitors. And I think they're a little embarrassed about what's happened in Knoxville and Baton Rouge. And I'm not saying we're going to see the Alabama team we all thought we'd see, and they're going to beat Ole Miss 42-7. I'm not saying that at all. I think it's going to be a struggle. I think it's going to be hard to win because Alabama's team is flawed. Alabama's team has issues. Alabama has issues good coaches can take advantage of, and Ole Miss is a good team. So it's going to be tight and exciting. And I think once again, like we've seen in all the other games against good teams, it's probably going to come down to the end. But this time I think Alabama makes a play or two to win the game at the very end. Ole Miss's best wins are against Kentucky and Texas A&M, and they only won both games by 3 points. I like Alabama to win this game 34-24, though it is tight until about 3 or 4 minutes left in the game.
I'm going to be impressed with our defense if we hold them to 24 points. I'm going to be impressed.
Other teams have.
I understand. I'm just telling you, given the state of mind of the program, I will be impressed.
And Ole Miss does it differently. I think, a lot of our fans, they just watch Alabama. They don't have time in their busy lives to watch all the games like we do. We watch all the games because, we're just useless and we're glued to our couches. So we watch all the games. Ole Miss is not Matt Corral, throw it 50 times, chug up and down the field, up tempo, chunking it. No, Ole Miss runs the football. Now, you play up tempo, but they run the ball with Quidshawn Junkins and Zach Evans. Jackson Dart will run the ball, and this Ole Miss team will play some defense. They're actually better defensively than they've been. They just aren't as explosive offensively because they don't have a superb outside weapon like they've had in the recent past. So I think it's a better matchup for Alabama. I like Alabama to win. But if Alabama doesn't win, I'm not going to show up here on the show Sunday, Luke, and say, I can't believe they lost that game. Now, maybe the circumstances lead me to say that. But I'm saying I won't be shocked if Ole Miss wins. They're a good team, and we're playing at Oxford. But what I will be surprised, Luke, is an Alabama team that lays down. If an Alabama team gets beat by 20-21, we have bigger problems than any of us are admitting if something like that happens, because that just hasn't happened in the Saban era. And it didn't happen in Knoxville, and it didn't happen in Baton Rouge. We busted our butts in those games. It came down to the final play. Playing poorly and not playing hard, those are two different things. You can play really hard and still play poorly. I think that's kind of what's happened to Alabama in Baton Rouge and Knoxville. They're not laying down.
All right, buddy, that's going to do it. We will talk on either Saturday night or Sunday, depending on how things are going. And we'll go from there. But until then, and after the Ole Miss game, roll Tide.
Roll Tide.